Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you, Ms. Kapoor, for doing, Dr. Kapoor, rather, for hosting such a wonderful session. Your team is incredible, I must say, and I think we should cheer them. It's not easy to put up a show of this stature. So thank you and all my love to each of you. So, I have just 2 slides, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, because बहुत सारी स्लाइड्स में आई नो आई यूज्ड टू सिट देयर और बहुत ज़्यादा उदासियाँ आती हैं. थैंक गॉड फॉर द डिम लाइट. आपके एक्सप्रेशंस कैप्चर नहीं हो रहे हैं, तो सेंटिमेंट्स पहुँच जाते हैं. So however, this is a story of faith, fortitude and divine test. So his story is all about endurance on whatever challenges God through, and a man finding its purpose. Now, man is not a gender, but mankind, right? So this story is of a girl, convent educated, belonging to an erudite family, life full of abundance. She had everything what she wanted in her hands. In a setup in the small town of Marble Rocks and Bhedaghat, the town known as Sanskar Dhani in MP, she was always exposed to the business standard and the business world. And while she used to flip through the pages during her time, her idols were Sulajja Motwani, Naina Lal Kidwais and the likes. She said, in 8th standard, took out her calendar, her daily diary, and penned down, I want to be a corporate leader and I want to do an MBA. Life moved on. She led her school, right? When the government of India reduced or lowered the voting age to 18, her school introduced the parliamentary system. She became the deputy prime minister by the verdict of votes. Wow, she led a team of 2,500 back then. In her family, the gender decided the profession. Oh wow, engineer आया है, बधाई हो, doctor आई है. That was what she was brought up with. And while she was there, another thing happened, right? Mandal Commission came in the 1990s. A lot of infamous things happened. आप बहुत छोटे हैं, but people who belong to those times in the 90s would know, right? And in the 12th standard, the MP board results were just 17%. She scored a high first division, and she passed with a distinction. Her mother, like any other mother, said, pass ho gayi hai, right? जो होता है. She said, Mom, what are you even talking? सारे बच्चे फेल हो गए कॉलोनी के, सप्लीमेंट्री आई है, और आप ऐसा बोल रहे हो. However, the mother knew, keep her hungry, the fire in her belly will make her soar high. Remember, she had a plan. She graduated, right? And in her college times, post her med exams, the rebel in her rose and she said, remember my dreams? I wanted to do an MBA. MBA? Business करना है? कौन करता है MBA? चुपचाप MSc करो. उसके बाद तुम्हारी शादी कर दी जाएगी, विदेश जाओ. नहीं मम्मा, please यार, you तो do something. You never talk to Papa. The tigress that her mom was supported the cub and said, करने दीजिए ना, देखते हैं, फिर तो हम कर ही लेंगे. ये पता नहीं थ्रेट था कि वार्निंग था कि एक तरीके का इनकरेजमेंट था, पर जो भी था बड़ा मजे का था. So she sat for the exam and she not only cleared it, she cracked it, she topped the state. And when she passed out, she had a gold medal. Wow. Now I want to taste the corporate world. she said. चले गए corporate world में, right? Telecommunications was the new buzz thing around that time. And that was the time when technology, आप आज agility की बात करते हैं, उस लड़की ने उस वक्त 2000 में agility आराम से देख ली सहेली. मोबाइल पेजर्स, एक साल में हालात बदल गए, जज्बात बदल गए, कामयाब बदल गई, मोबाइल्स बढ़ गए, right? So pagers to mobile in just 1 year was the transition. The business moved, people moved, things changed, right? जब ये सब हुआ, उसके बाद स्यापा, अब क्या करें? घूम फिर के शादी का डर. लड़की ने बोला नहीं बाबा MBA तो करना ही है, right? सेकंड करते हैं. बचना था, बहुत ज़्यादा बचना था. So during that MBA phase, towards the end, and she said, wow, बच गए भाई, क्रैक कर लिया कैट, पहुंच जाएंगे अच्छे खासे इंस्टीट्यूट में. And she then joined one of the illustrious and prestigious institutes, not of the IIM's rank, but a little lower. While she was doing that, her passing of the course also culminated in her getting engaged to a chartered accountant, a very handsome man, also from the city of dreams, Mumbai. They came, they had a beautiful life together, and soon their love was manifested in the form of the bundle of joy as the daughter. Life couldn't have been much happier for both of them. They were over the moon, shouting, screaming. But while she was sitting with the child, no one from the in-laws visited her. हमसे क्या भूल हुई? Is it because she was a girl child? हमारी तो arranged marriage थी ना? ये क्यों हो रहा है? They needed someone to initiate them into parenthood. Something that was very new to both of them. However, the little bundle of joy was also a super magnet. She drew the entire family together, and once again they were a big, happy family. While they were still rejoicing, she enters into the corporate world, and that was the first Diwali with the 6-month-old in 2003. Shopping करनी है, तोरण लगाना है, पटाखे लाने हैं, सामान खरीदना है, घर सजाना है, पकवान बनाने हैं, were the words and the talks that were happening. And while they went out shopping, the husband said, यार पेट दुख रहा है. तुम्हारे साथ ना हमेशा ही कुछ ना कुछ होता रहता है. जब देखो जब भी कुछ अच्छा चीज हो रहा था तुम्हारी तबीयत जरूर खराब होती है. And he said, सच में दुख रहा है. She just stomped on the streets while shopping. बड़बड़ करते वो चलती जा रही थी, पीछे देखा भी नहीं. अब बोला यार कोई रिएक्शन भी नहीं है यार, what is this nonsense? मैं इतना बड़बड़ कर रही हूँ. Once she turns, she sees him collapsed on the ground on the road, withering in pain, and she's like, oh shoot, what happened? She screamed and people gathered, pushed him in the car, and she drove like a maniac to the hospital. And there out came the stretcher, the man was wheeled in, and they had to perform a sonography. Sonography showed a lump in the intestine, right? And she said, appendix होगा यार, मुझे भी हुआ था 8th standard में. बताओ जिस तरफ appendix होता है उसकी opposite side surgery होती है. Anesthesia में बहुत मजा आता है, it gives you a different high. मजे कर ले. That's how they were talking. But the scans had a different story to say. The scan showed something very, very different. That was the time she had to go to the path lab, and with a trembling hand, she comes. The only person standing there was her father. She looked at him and says, Papa, इनको cancer है. He was just 29 years of age. The child was just 6 months. The husband and wife looked at each other and said, क्या करेंगे? This is the hand of God that has been served to us. and he was rolled in and wheeled in for the surgery. The gurgling little bundle actually sat for the first time. वो सीखते हैं ना बच्चे बैठना, वो हॉस्पिटल बेड पे हुआ है ना, सारी ट्यूब्स के साथ वो हॉस्पिटल बेड पे पहली बार वो छोटी बच्ची ने बैठना सीखा. She learned to crawl during the chemo sessions. And first birthday of the little bundle was the last chemo of the husband. No cakes, no balloons, but no complaints. They were happy, very happy, that at least they aced it, they survived it. She knew now she had to wear the pants till he could join hands. So she joined one of the largest jewelry manufacturing company. She entered into the world of glitz and glamour. Employees, छड़, ये तो models हैं यार, क्या दिखते थे. And she was a new mother, all of 74 kgs. And while she was walking in that circumference peripheral vision, इसको select किया है. कौन है ये? स्मॉल टाउन ही है यार, कहीं से आई है, जबलपुर की. इतनी मोटी, इसको शो पे लेके जाएंगे. Were the words that she heard. Someone came with a file, dumped it on her table and said, MBA हो ना, इतना तो आता ही होगा. नहीं आता है मुझे. The girl said, Carrot for you is unit of measurement, carrot मेरे लिए गाजर है, is what she said. Time moved on, alright, and the top management noticed her talent. While she was being noticed by the top management, she soon became the right hand of the top management. At that point of time, boys and girls, she not only antagonized people, but she ruffled more feathers than one. At that point of time, she was dismissed from the job, shunted, taken out, chucked out. She stood there. Why? No explanations given. And while that was happening, she goes back to her husband, collapses in his arms and says, मैं हार गई. That point of time, that's the time when that organization used to give a winter break. And the husband said, कोई नहीं, वैसे भी हम छुट्टी पे जाने वाले थे, this would be a good break for you. Both of them were sitting in the tranquil waters in 2012. 10 साल हो गए थे पहले कैंसर एपिसोड को. And Kerala के backwaters में, while she was thinking and pondering on कि क्या हुआ है life में, she hears a whimper, turns back, and he's again clutching his stomach and saying, दुख रहा है यार. She's like, what? Has it come back again? 7th of January 2013 was the surgery. 240 stitches, ladies and gentlemen, with titanium clips suturing both sides of the skins, and she had to do the dressing daily. Come June, and of course by that time, there was a parallel fight happening in the management, the fight between the justice and the injustice. The justice won. The wrongs were wronged and the righteous won. She was reinstated immediately in her workplace and with full glory and full honors. At that point of time, she also thanked the Almighty but didn't know how to place her emotions, right? So, while the surgery and the chemos took place, in May of 2012, 2013, when the last chemo happened, Dr. Advani, who was the known oncologist, Padma Bhushan. He was looking at the PET scans. The daughter was now 7 years old and said, "You guys were really very unfortunate that this disease came. However, it's in remission." The child looks at the doctor, tags him and says, Uncle, हम pizzas, burgers खा सकते हैं ना? And the doctor looks at her and says, "अरे बेटा जो खाना है खाओ, enjoy करो, जियो, अपने father को भी खिलाओ." And the child was happy thinking, wow, आज तो हमको मिलेगा बहुत अच्छे से खाने को. We will have a party tonight. He, at that point of time, was fixed with a Baxter pump, okay, which used to administer chemo. And he could perform his regular task at work. Chartered accountant थे, तो काफी सारी responsibilities भी थी उनके ऊपर. And while that was happening, by September, during the Ganpati festival 2013, she gets a call from his office. "Ma'am, Rajesh has collapsed. We are rushing him to Raheja Hospital in Mumbai." She froze. "Hey, Bhagwan, ye वापस क्या हो रहा है यार?" And she rushed along with her 3 friends, Chintan, Sameer, and Shekhar. When she went there, she sees him on the stretcher. The stomach was distended. Ascites had set in. Ascites का मतलब होता है पानी पेट में भरना. Okay? And that happens when the liver, etc. functions starts giving up. And while that happens, you know that the end is very near. He was once again rolled in for surgery. She sat in the temple of the hospital praying, you know. It is said the most honest prayers are actually done in the temple corridors. Came out of the surgery, and now, while 3 days in the hospital and 21 days at home, became 21 days in the hospital and 3 days at home. Right? The hospital corridors were their walking tracks, and there was a game they used to play. Guess ये elevator का दरवाजा खुलेगा तो कौन बाहर आएगा? क्योंकि जब भी वो खुलता था तो उसमें से वो जो प्रेडिक्ट करते थे वो डॉक्टर वॉक आउट करते थे. उनके friends now started wearing white aprons and pink coats. Used to always come with stethoscopes and needles. The meeting room was now the waiting lounge for them. And one thing that continued to come from that 11th floor from the hospital was all the cheers and laughters and jests that they had for each other. The love of life never ebbed. So much so, to the point that people in that hospital used to say, "Yaar, inke saath ye kyun hua?" Right? By the end of the year, towards the birthday of that gentleman, okay, it became very clear that there was point of no return. Another surgery was performed. She was looking hopefully at the doctor. Familiar face, the team you now know, walks out to him. Him is the brother of that girl. Takes him aside, and she's craning her neck and straining her ear. Ki kya bola? And that's where he says, "हमने खोला था, अंदर पत्थर जैसा दिखा, हमने वापस बंद कर दिया. We are sorry." Sorry, क्या बोल क्या रहे हैं आप? How can you be sorry? I've just got a 9-year-old baby. What are you even saying? By 10th of March, okay, she had to go for a Hong Kong visit because she was in sales at that point of time. When she went to sales, Hong Kong जाने के पहले, उन्होंने अपने husband को kiss किया and बोला, "देख, तू कुछ उटपटांग मत करना." The husband, still in the bed, said, "मैं कहाँ जाऊँगा baby? मैं तो यहीं मिलूँगा." But one thing more happened at that point of time. The husband gathered the entire family and said, "Find a good man, get married." That broke her. इसलिए तुमको जिंदा रखा क्या? While all this happened, she flew to Hong Kong, came back, and on 10th of March, she gets a call. The call was from her father because the husband was already hospitalized, and that's where she says, Papa, Raja nahi rahe na? He says, yes, beta, aa jao. All of them rushed to the hospital, tugging the 9-year-old child. She rushed to the ICCU. His forehead was still warm. She had heard, hearing is the last sense to go. She kissed him on his forehead and said, fly high, fly free, be disease free. With that, the next step was to light the fire. When that came for the last rites, suddenly इतने सारे relatives आ गए जिन्होंने आज तक के visit भी नहीं किया था उनको. The rebel in her stood up and she said, जब सेवा की है तो ये भी मैं ही करूँगी. She gave Mukhagni to the husband along with her 9-year-old child, and also did the last thing as per the Hindu rites which we do at Nasik. That also she performed. Post 13 days of the bereavement period when she joins office, suddenly she was the only lonely single young widow. In the society, she was a piece of meat. She was scared not for self, but for her daughter. That point of time, she met God. God in the physical form. God who not only embraced her daughter and her family, but embraced all of what was broken. This God was also a broken soul. Together, they built a family. Together, they built each other. Together, they built careers. Ladies and gentlemen, this is my story. That girl was me. Thank you. Please keep singing. Thank you. Thank you. However, I really want to thank all those naysayers who were there to bring me down, to pull me down. बोलते हैं बहुत से लोग, come in your life as lessons and as blessings. These people made me who I am today, and they are there as the biggest boon and the biggest blessings. And this is what I say. When God does challenge, the storm may rise to darken the path before our eyes. Yet the man must strive with heart in hand to build a purpose, to take a stand. Post going through all this trauma, life never stopped for me. I completed my MA in psychology. I've recently been awarded my second PhD. My daughter is doing wonderfully well. Dash sir knows her. She's got through Morgan Stanley. She's still an undergrad. And this is all the blessings that I've got through from the likes of you all and from the universe. Thank you once again.